Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. So this is finally part 2 of the solo queue guide that we've been long awaited. But first, let's go ahead and take a quick pause here and let's talk about some honesty really fast. I'm going to be honest, this video has been plaguing me for quite some time, and it's probably because I've had a lot of anxiety on perfecting it and making sure I do it right. Now, when I say I do it right, a lot of things have changed since we first started the solo queue series to begin with, and I wanted to reinvigorate it, and I realized I hadn't done this in quite some time. So a few things happened where I decided to go back to the roots and start to improve again. I felt like I wasn't getting the footage in a timely manner that was more realistic to be able to teach, and if I haven't perfected something, I never feel comfortable teaching it. Now this is something I also need to be more comfortable with to share with you guys, to also share that journey. But today, I can actually share that journey with you. That journey prior and working on mechanics was showcased on the channel when I went back to basics, working on my sensitivity, trying different mice, going on stream, trying a higher sensitivity, a lower sensitivity, and working on the basic mechanics, but also improving my aim. Today, I can confidently tell you that by taking this journey and seeing it on the channel so far, I worked on this, and this is where we're at today. And it honestly only took me 2 tries to get a win now, because my mechanics and my timing has definitely improved. Is it perfect? No. But it definitely has improved to where we're at before, and even showcasing on screen, you can see I only had 2 recordings today. And once I got them, I reached out to my thumbnail artist, Eddie, and I said, I think we're finally ready to post this. Now, what's interesting is that this actually was Watson before. And I had this thumbnail, like I mentioned, all the way spanning back to September, 14th. So it has been quite some time, but it's now time to discuss the improvements. And that's what's going to be a part of today's episode. My first tip I want to share with all of you is this. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there and just fail. And if you do realize there's an area that you need to improve upon, well, that's the perfect scenario that you need to put the work in and really improve so you can do this. Because unfortunately, when you're solo queuing, you are going to run into the problem of just needing to make sure your mechanics and your timing of when you push, how you push, and what you do is perfected. We're going to share some of that today, and we're still going to see some mistakes in how it works. So what we're going to showcase is 2 rounds back to back. As we fly in right now, you're going to see the first round that we flew in, and then we're going to showcase the win that happened. Now, what I like to do is I like to land near the action rather than on top of it. Sometimes I like to do it on top of the action, which you're going to see in the next one. This is a great example of being nearby. So you can go third, but if there's too many teams and you don't feel like you can get enough loot, you want to be near the action. If you're solo queuing, not landing near the action means you're not going to be doing anything. And remember, it's important to get your armor leveled and make sure you're involved as quick as possible. Making sure your loot pattern is efficient. You'll notice that where I'm going, I'm always looting. I landed on the bins. You don't necessarily want to land on the bins when you're dropping hot. There's the armor. The reason why I'm going through these areas is that they have the highest probability for loot. You'll notice I don't go to the back, or I make sure to stay within a certain confine, because at this point, I should have more than enough loot to fight and do what I need to do. We got ourselves a Hemlock, as well as a Car SMG, which is a strong loadout. And I highly actually recommend that you run very close range loadouts. I find that running a R99, a Peacekeeper, let's say a more burst heavy weapon, which even you could run a triple take even, but I would always recommend running 2 close range, an SMG, a shotgun, and you can run an AR and as well as a shotgun, but still I really find Volt, R99, EVA 8, Peacekeeper, like this isn't bad. This is what I would call, just kind of feeling things out. Right now I'm assuming that this is a group of 3. I'm just doing a little bit of intro, and I see somebody sniping me from the far left. So what I decide to do after I take a quick peek is go to the far right in hopes that the team from the far left will shove in. You need to have the mindset of how you can get teams to kind of work for you rather than against you. If they are holding hands, you're not going to win that fight. Now, if you're watching this and you're a low MMR, you might have a bit more success. Now, what I end up doing is I go directly in just because I know they're kind of in it. Go for the quick beam, and then you reset. Now, what I need to wait here is for somebody to make a mistake. Now, I will in solo queuing finish a lot of players and opponents. And the reason why I will do this is because you need to make sure they don't revive and res. It means that they're just going to get a full reset, and you have to avoid that as much as possible. Now, you'll notice I take different angles, such as climbing to different heights, things that are unexpected, because you never know when an opponent is going to be in a certain area. But if you take the predictable path, unless they are distracted, you're going to get shot at. So you really have to be on top of your game sense. I heard this Pathfinder, I can't tell you if he's above or he's down below. Now, if somebody pushes me, this is fine. I actually find Conduit a great solo queue legend in general, which will give tips, and you'll notice that later. Her tactical is great for having you reload while also healing in case you need to reset. Now, that Pathfinder we're looking for is about to appear here in a second. I do play a little more aggressively in the next loadout that we find, we drop in the same spot here. And this one I'm playing a little passive because I hadn't actually solo queued since we did the last video. It has been that long, and I'm just kind of going based off my pure instincts of how I would play. And right now, I'm not going to lie, I'm playing a little bit more passive than I would, but as I keep going and I play the next round, I play more confidently. Now, what I do here with the ultimate is that you look down with the ultimate because it almost works as a bunch of fences. Essentially, I can use this to duck and weave through, and my opponents have to do about 200 plus damage to eliminate these. Now, here the damage, and this is where you're going to see the mistake here in a second. Ready? Which isn't bad. I get 2 knocks, perfect. Now, what happens here, I need to press my tactical, and they do as well, but I needed to reload my R99, or excuse me, my car SMG. Now, because I didn't, I got eliminated. That's unfortunate. If I reloaded my car, this is why I recommend a shotgun, an SMG, something that does a lot of damage. Otherwise, you're not going to essentially clutch out. I find that when you're playing solo queuing, knocking somebody from a distance is fine, but you got to work your way in, okay? I know in the past I always said you can do range damage, but unless you are 100% going to one-mag somebody, especially whenever I'm playing the new 3 strikes, I mean, I'm literally running R99 Peacekeeper all the way through. Now, you'll notice here running an AR and an SMG or a shotgun is also a viable tactic and strat because you still have your burst damage. And trust me, if you're missing that many shots, and the reason why I'm not taking cover here, remember, rules are meant to be broken, right? So the rule here is that you don't really take an encounter unless you know that they're distracted and not looking at you. I know that somebody's dropped. Now, keep in mind, this is trios. We're not doing duos, by the way. This is trios. So I may have a knock here, and I decide to ego challenge this. Now, the reason why is because I have the armor advantage. And even then, I armor swap, but I know I can beat him because even if I use my Conduit tactical here, I should be just fine. And then even if he misses a few shots, I can get back in the action. Now, realistically, I should have preemptively used my tactical here, which can also help as well. Now, if you're another legend, you always got to make sure that you just have that strategic advantage. If you have that advantage, boom, you're going to be set. Now, you'll notice right away, I try to get rid of this 30-30 because having even though it's a long-range weapon, the L-Star just doesn't do as much DPS, even though it is strong as, let's say, a car, an R99, a Peacekeeper. Those are just going to do infinitely more damage. And the reason for I don't stay in this encounter is because we are playing trios. I also found that I'm actually more consistent kill leader now, which showcases that I am improving. Now, I'm not necessarily doing any crazy movement. We're using a lot of game sense and logic to win here. Now, when I realize, okay, I've taken shots, I shot at range, I don't know where the other 2 opponents are at, I'm just going to rotate. Because if I hit him and I found information what his armor type was, essentially it sounds like a Pokemon, if I knew if he was running white, blue, or purple, I may stay. If they're running white, sure, I would stay. But if they're running purple, I have blue, and I need to make sure that I can win that encounter. So I'd opt to rotation here. Now, if you're playing other legends, you'll find that defensive legends and even support legends are probably the hardest. If you're playing such as Wraith or anything, this gets a lot easier. If you make a mistake and go into that encounter, you can queue back. With somebody like Conduit or maybe Watson or other legends, you have to be a lot more methodical in terms of making sure that you can win that encounter whenever you go in. Which is, again, why I took a step back working my mechanics, because while I have improved macro decision-making, micro decisions when it comes to fighting, getting in and out, I was not as confident ensuring that I was going to win every single one of those encounters. Now, what I decided to do here is actually take this fight over here. And you'll know that at one point I'm going to back out of this, but I do go and get involved here. So this one is a little different. I did drop hot. I did get involved, and then I try to gauge whether or not I can win this 1v3. Most people in the current MMR, depending on which one you are, tend to hold hands very much so. They'll wide swing you together. They give you a hard time. This is my backtrack. I thought they were closer. They weren't. I could have put the ultimate here, and I'm surprised I didn't get this knock. He goes forward, gets finished. I thought he went to the left, but that was just a misjudgment here, and I move forward. Now, this is where I pretty much have to leave the encounter, and I see if I can catch one out. And while I do get the knock, you'll notice I back out because I notice how close they are together. I get the knock here, which is not bad, and I go for the heal, and I could have popped a bat, but I hear them really, really hugging close, and they go for the res immediately, and it's a lifeline one, which makes it even harder. So I opt to just back out and reposition because I know that the squad is just right on top of each other. It's kind of hard to third party a team that is all looting right on top of each other because the downside is that they're just going to wide swing you. Your goal is to isolate opponents out, and by solo queuing, that's what you're going to learn most. Can I isolate a 1v1, another 1v1, another 1v1, and then essentially win? You can do things such as Q out, you can Pathfinder grapple, you can Revenant ultimate to reset. There's a lot of different things to reset those 1v1s, and as you improve upon this, what you're going to find is that you're going to get better in your 3v3s because you'll always win because you'll know how much of a strategic advantage that you do have. So unfortunately here we need to rotate, but we do know that there's a team to the left of us and there's a team to the right. Now our goal is to make sure we can get them sandwiched best we can. That's the goal here. Now, what we're looking for is I'm trying to get rid of this 30-30. I'm trying to at least get another SMG, something, because I know a 30-30 just isn't going to help me. And even if I took the fight earlier, I'm going to be honest, being closer, there it is. Then I get the shotgun and I feel way more comfortable. That's really all I needed. I was looking for a car, which is why I also held the mag there as well, just to make sure I had something. And then once I felt comfortable, I go loot just a little bit, hit the bin so I can get myself a battery. Plus side of running a support legend, at least when you hit these bins, you're always guaranteed a battery. Batteries are very important for solo queuing to winning fights because they improve your chances on resetting. Resetting is probably the hardest thing to do when it comes to Apex Legends. And when you need to reset, well, you better win your ones. So I hear them fighting up above and I start to gauge this. My confidence is starting to improve as I finally realize, like, wait a minute, I can do this. And I'm not going to lie, today I'm like, I can finally win this. I can do this. I have the aim to back it up. I have the game sense. And I can flex some movement, but right now I'm just keeping it base simple with the mechanics. I don't want to be a player that utilizes just movement but can't aim worth a blank. You know, you get what I'm saying. Because then if you're that type of player and you're just relying on movement, then you're never going to be solid in a squad because you're just running around. You could distract for bullets, but I've seen players that have movement with no aim, and I don't want to become one of those players. So I will admit I have heavily obsessed on making sure my core mechanics are down, and then I want to implement movement. Movement is a finesse that you want to add to your gameplay because you've improved upon everything else. The worst thing you can do is see a player super glide 5 times and just not land anything, and we all know those players, and we've seen them. And to be honest, a super glide, especially when you're facing off against opponents, can be pretty easy to combat. So the ultimate here is to buy myself some time. I definitely use Conduit's ultimate just if I need to use cover, positioning. I don't know the number of teams here because I heard shots on the right, and I see one crawling away, and so this doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I do a little bit more damage here, starts to improve, and unfortunately it does almost overheat. I look here to the left and then to the right, and then I notice, wait a minute, they're actually engaged. So this was another team, and I decided to move in. So right now I was just trying to gauge, because as a solo, you don't have your teammates to tell you who's nearby, right? Now there is a Revenant, and so the numbers still don't add up, by the way, which is why it's a little hard to push and make a play, but I do know there's a Watson back here, and I decided to clean her up in case she is part of that squad. And once we finish her, I'll be able to decipher and tell. Nope, there's 2 knocks, a Loba left, and there's a Revenant. So now I've deciphered who's on which side and why. Now I just need somebody to showcase themselves, and there they go. And of course, I never really know where the Revenant went until just a moment here. Lucky they missed that arc, or else that would have forced me to push. But at this point, I'm confident I can win this. Not necessarily stressed. They have an Eva, pop a heal. Get a little bit of a heal there, and it doesn't really help too much, but in case I get thirded or somebody else decides to shoot, that's where the problems come in. I'm gonna be honest, I don't really know where the Revenant went in this scenario, but he was here, and I decided just to pretty much slow heal and reset. If somebody was gonna third me at a higher tier lobby, they would have already done it already, and because they didn't, I'm pretty much comfy to do whatever I want, right? Try to gauge that personal timer, especially if you're in a lower tier lobby. You have way more time to do stuff and be more greedy. If you have a higher tier lobby, which is why I pop my heal, then I need to look around. But if nobody shot me in that moment, then I pretty much can say, yeah, I'm good to pretty much reset. And you look at the number of teams, and it's only zone 2. Now, whenever you're doing trios and playing pubs, people tend to eliminate pretty quick, which is why I encourage you guys all to land near the action. You can't wait like this. You have to get involved and fight. And I trust you because... well, trust me, I should say. I trust you that you will do it, and trust me that if you do fight early, that you're going to find teams that are going to get more involved and make more mistakes, and that's your goal. If you can get them to make mistakes and have it be an honest mistake in gameplay, such as they're thirding and you show up, well, then that's just going to net a big value for you. Now, the hardest part when it comes to solo queuing is the end game. You need the other 2 teams to fight, and sometimes, I'm going to be honest, you have to play the boring game and just essentially wait. Because as you get towards the end game, most of those players are all going to be the better squads. They should have reds. They're going to have more loot, and unless you run into a team that happens to be the end zone who has really bad armors, that's just pure luck at that point. You'd be surprised that they're not fighting, but at least one of those teams is going to be absolutely kitted and know what they're doing. Those are the safe assumptions that you have to make. So right now I'm trying to bait them out by at least moving out in the open and cause a little chaos here, but I don't see anything. I don't hear anything. And even whenever the fight was happening in the kill feed, there's nothing nearby. So if there's nothing nearby, then of course, you know, what can you do? Well, not much. You're just going to have to wait. So essentially I do wait, and at one point I pretty much just go AFK in a second. It's your moment just to breathe and reset. I will admit, this is the first time that I actually had my hands shake towards an end zone, and it was pretty interesting. I'm not going to lie. I hadn't had that rush in a while, and the new Apex has really just been really invigorating for me, and I've been having a really great time. It's not that I haven't been having a good time, it's that something is different within the game that has just reinvigorated my passion even further. Because I wouldn't have been grinding so much like we talked at the beginning of the video unless I was putting the time and effort in. So we fixed all those things. Now, let's go through a checklist while we're sitting here of what you can do to solo queue. Make sure your mechanics are strong. Do you know how to use every single loadout? Do you know how to rotate efficiently? Do you know when to push? Do you know when to get out of a fight? Now, what about in encounters? Can you win your 1v1s? Now, you have to pick a loadout to ensure you can win those. They're most likely going to happen close range. So by being close range, you have to remind yourself how to do that. Now, tips to ensure that you can get in and out of a fight. Now, to get in, do you have better armor and did you do more damage? You get out of a fight, do they have better armors and did they crack you and are they trying to push you like they are the Avengers? If you discover you see Captain America, Iron Man, and Thor in the enemy team, you need to figure out how to weaken them out and maybe have them face another Avenger-like squad. Maybe they'll have Civil War going on for Marvel. I don't really know. But you have to decipher that. Now, I'm late here. I hear these shots, right? Now, those were your checklists. Those are reminders that are very helpful. And if you can't do this, it's okay. It's okay to feel stress and anxiety because trust me, I did it for 2 months and I panicked about making this video. And this is the first time that I've actually been confident making it and providing tips. I just don't ever want to put inauthentic content out for you guys unless I've been putting the work, and the work is finally there and it is paying off. You know, we're finally getting there and we're seeing a lot better recoil control, decision making. I mean, stuff like this. Like this definitely is a game changer. It's not like I couldn't do this before, but I wanted to be this comfortable without a shadow of a doubt that I could do it. There's knocks on both ends. There's an Octane knocked. I just knocked the Rampart. There's a Revenant that decided to push, but I'm looking for information and everyone is extremely quiet. Now remember, I mentioned the words, you need to ensure you get your knocks and finishes, because what if there was a person back here hiding in the tunnel and they come back and they res them and now I have to do another one. Now, this is taking way longer than intended. I try to finish. At least I know that I have a potential 1v1, because I killed the Rampart, the Revenant's alive, who I kept track of, and while I haven't heard another footstep, which is good, it means that there's a high chance and high probability to be a 1v1. Now, I encourage you guys, if you enjoyed this series, to let me know, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. I want to do this more now that we're finally at that point. Saturday stream, we're going to also do a lot of, actually, for the first time, queuing together. Oh, I have no idea where he's at, I'm going to be honest. There he is. Even looking back in the VOD, I had no idea where he's at. So because of the way he's playing, I can decipher that he's a solo. How do I know this? Well, he backed out of the encounter. If he was playing with another teammate, then I would have already been shot by now, and I would have been pushed. Because he's playing so passive, I know that he's solo, and he knows that I'm solo if he's a strong player, right? So these are the things that we can decipher, and I'm trying to figure out why he's not pushing or rotating, and I'm trying to look for a mistake. Now, I'm not making the mistake by over pushing because I have zone. These are the moments where you have everything statistically in your favor, and sometimes it's better just to play patiently. Sometimes it's not the most entertaining, but sometimes playing patiently is worth it when you know that you're gating something out. At this point, I need to push, which is why I don't hesitate to go forward. He cracks again, he peeks, this is my win. Now, what I could have done is just kept on the L star, but I swapped because thinking that he wasn't going to take that, and then I move in. I preemptively pop my tactical here, and the reason why I do that is because I want to ensure that if he hit me in the air, that I had a moment to heal. And there it is, ladies and gentlemen. There it is, the solo queue win with Conduit. And of course, we also gave a lot of tips and advice. And yeah, there's a lot here. I appreciate all of you guys for watching. I definitely look forward to posting a 4K with her and seeing you guys all more in the content. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys all in the next one.